they're constantly selling something with the wrapper of toughness or being an alpha, but the message is given to you by corporate America. It is to be a good cog in the machine. And they will, you can see that in how they take any opportunity to fake attack corporations, to attack corporations viciously in a way that does not pose any harm whatsoever to the corporations. Like they will rant about DEI programs in corporations. The corporations don't care about their DEI programs. They'd prefer to not have to spend money on that. But what does that commentator think the corporate tax rate should be? Like, oh, they're like, we're going to take down these corporations and they should pay no taxes whatsoever. And there should be no regulations whatsoever. But aren't they woke? It's like selling the anti-wokeness so that you can do the bidding of corporate America.
That is exactly right.
Matt Walsh is ruffling a whole lot of feathers recently. He just released his new movie, Am I Racist? And that definitely set off Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur and all the Young Turks fans, of course. But he also just did this video talking about should people be taking sick days, and this also set off Ana Kasparian to a whole nother level. I haven't seen her get like this angry in a while, in a really long time, and she's gotten pretty angry at Cenk, at other right wingers. This video, Matt Walsh absolutely triggered the hell out of Ana Kasparian, and I want to let you guys see this. Let's get into this clip here from the Young Turks of Matt Walsh making this very inflammatory statement, and Ana Kasparian just going nuclear over it.
On the sick day thing and you know, this will be unpopular with, especially with younger people, but you shouldn't be using sick days.
You should definitely be using sick days. Do not come to work and spread your disease and make me sick. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you should probably get better. You shouldn't be in the office. Stay home. Don't listen to Matt Walsh. Now that was just a quick tease of Matt Walsh bravely standing up for the cause of literally showing up to work sick and spreading your germs to all your coworkers, something that I'm sure people would not appreciate. And we'll get to more of Walsh's rant in a minute, but first some context. So on yesterday's episode of the aptly named Matt Walsh Show, he discussed a recent survey showing that many hiring managers are deeply unimpressed with Gen Z workers, okay? So from intelligent.com, they report that nearly 2/3, 65% of hiring managers surveyed believe that recent college graduates are entitled, and 63% think they get offended too easily. I'm not saying I agree with—
Hear me out here, guys. Okay, I know I'm about to piss people off, and that's okay. I do that basically every single video, so it's fine. I used to be, and still pretty much am, a pretty big Matt Walsh fan. Like, ever since the whole Middle East stuff happened and he's kind of bowed down a little bit to Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring's wishes, I've kind of lost a little bit of respect for him, but I'm still a pretty big Matt Walsh fan. I personally think this is a woke take because, and I guess you could spin it and say that my take's going to be woke too, however you want to look at it. I think this is a woke take because what are you doing? Like, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I don't ever take a day off because I don't want to. I hate sounding like I'm trying to brag or something like that, but I genuinely just don't ever want to take a day off. Like, I enjoy my life. I've created a life that I don't want to take a day off from. And if you're an entrepreneur, I agree with Matt Walsh here that you should never take a day off, because as an entrepreneur or as someone like Matt Walsh or Ana Kasparian, if you're taking days off, you're not making money for that day. So you shouldn't take days off when you're sick. You can't afford to unless you're already multi-millionaire, whatever. If you're working a 9-to-5 job for a company, for a corporation, you should take every single sick day that you possibly have. And I think it's a woke stance to say that you shouldn't. Now, you could spin it around and say that, you know, Ana Kasparian might even make this point in this video. It's a very Young Turk stance to take, that you should stick it to the evil big corporations and the evil big rich person that's paying your bills by taking all the sick days. But also at the same time, the evil big corporations are run normally by woke tech people, you know? Like, if you're working for Meta or Facebook or someone, like, you should not just be the slave to their system and never take a sick day. Make sure you maximize the amount of money that they get to make off of you. Dude, I used to be an employee and I was the person that took every single sick day that I possibly could, took every single vacation day that I possibly could, because guess what? I get paid the same way. So I'm not going to sacrifice my sick days and my vacation days to put more money into your pocket, the person who's paying my bills' pocket, the person who's already a multimillionaire's pocket. Hell no. I'm taking every single sick day that I possibly can. And I think it's a woke stance. And let me know in the comments. I'm sure a lot of you are going to get very angry at me for saying that because you love Matt Walsh. And I like Matt Walsh too. He's a cool guy. I think it's a woke stance to say that you shouldn't take sick days if you're working a 9-to-5 job, if you're working for a large corporation. If you're an entrepreneur, I agree with Matt Walsh. But if you're not an entrepreneur, which most people aren't, I agree with Ana Kasparian here.
With that last part, but I'm saying I agree with that last part. Additionally, more than half, 55%, believe they lack a work ethic, and 54% say they don't respond well to feedback. Similarly, 53% feel that Gen Z college graduates are unprepared for the workforce and believe they have poor communication skills. Now, those numbers clearly are pretty bad, not good, but according to that same survey, most hiring managers aren't gonna stop hiring Gen Z anytime soon. So 1/4 of hiring managers say they would feel extremely enthusiastic about hiring a recent college graduate for an entry-level position. These polls are ridiculous, like honestly. Like, how do you go from saying like, oh, Gen Z are the worst workers, can't stand them, super entitled, they get offended too easily, but I'm super enthused about hiring them. Like, there's always contradictions like that in polling. It's amazing. But just to read the rest of it to you, they also say 34%.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Would feel somewhat enthusiastic. About 25% feel neutral, while only 13% are somewhat hesitant and 4% are extremely hesitant. So that's the background before we get to the rest of what Matt Walsh has to say. But I do want to allow you to jump in real quick, John. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, my overall thought is I love this story because it perfectly encapsulates what the point of the so-called independent right-wing media is. It's to do exactly what is in there. It is to sell a message that if you don't to think too deeply about it, it's about like manhood and being like tough and not being woke or whatever. Like just just go to work if you're sick or whatever. But what is that actually? It's don't ever cost your employer any money.
Exactly.
Don't take any time.
I knew they were gonna take this. I knew it. You guys will know if you watch this channel, I don't pre-watch these. These are me reacting to these live. And Ana Kasparian didn't take this stance. It ended up being this idiot that I don't really care about what he has to say. But I knew that was a very Young Turk stance to take. It's a very Ana Kasparian, Cenk Uygur type stance to take. And while I disagree with Matt Walsh, like I said, if you're an entrepreneur, don't take a day off because that's the life you chose. Like, that you chose that, buddy. Like, don't take a day off. But if you're a 9-to-5 worker, take all the days off that you possibly can, dude. Like, if we're being real, okay? I don't try to make all these episodes turn into some kind of business TED talk or anything like that. But that's just what I'm genuinely interested in. If you really look at, and I've learned this from hiring people and just being involved in everything. If we're being real, your performance doesn't really have much to do with even being promoted within a business. It's much more about politics and how you come across to the people who are higher up than you and your peers and how they talk about you and stuff like that than it is about your actual performance in the company and how many sick days you take and stuff like that. So even if you're trying to maximize your career with getting, promoted and just making the most money possible within a 9-to-5, it's not even detrimental for you to take these sick days. So it's just, I just disagree with Matt Walsh here. I'm sure he's talking to the 9-to-5 workers directly and not entrepreneurs. So I'm just going to say I disagree with him and I agree with Ana Kasparian. Now, this idiot's take, this communist take, I disagree with, where it's like he's going to go like the full like communist Marxist take of like, you should maximize the sick days you take off to take the money out of these big corporations' pockets because they're evil, because they're rich. And that's not how I think. I don't think people are evil because they're rich, and I admire them for building these corporations. I'm just saying on an individual basis, take your damn sick days, man. They give it to you for a reason. Take advantage of it.
Time off, you be there, be a good drone, bow down. To be a man, to be an alpha, you should never. And so they're constantly selling something with the wrapper of toughness or being an alpha, but the message is given to you by corporate America. It is to be a good cog in the machine. And they will, you can see that in how they take any opportunity to fake attack corporations, to attack corporations viciously in a way that does not pose any harm whatsoever to the corporations. Like they will rant about DEI programs in corporations. The corporations don't care about their DEI programs. They'd prefer to not have to spend money on that. But what does that commentator think the corporate tax rate should be? Like, oh, they're like, we're going to take down these corporations and they should pay no taxes whatsoever. And there should be no regulations whatsoever. But aren't they woke? It's like selling the anti-wokeness so that you can do the bidding of corporate America.
That is exactly right. I mean, you put it so perfectly. I feel like it's useless to even do the rest of the story, but we will. So during Matt Walsh's show, he's discussing this survey, which also found that, Gen Z workers are more likely to do the right thing in using their sick days. Older counterparts less likely. And so that led to this bizarre rant.
You shouldn't be using sick days, okay? I've used sick days maybe twice in 7 years. And in both of those cases, because I lost my voice and I couldn't speak, you can't blame me for that. It's impossible to do a podcast when you can't speak. And even then I still, and anyone who has been watching the show for a while, you know this, I still came into the office and recorded a video with subtitles when I lost my voice, if you recall. But generally speaking, again, I know this is unpopular, but sick days are for children, okay? They're for kids in school who are trying to stay home so they don't have to take a test that day. Like, with rare exception, taking a sick day as an adult should be pretty embarrassing for you.
I will also say Matt Walsh is a master at just getting people to talk about him and causing controversy. I think, like, what other point could he possibly have to even say, like, I'm not saying he's making up this opinion. This could be an actual opinion that he holds, but I'm saying, like, this has nothing to do with politics or anything that he normally discusses. So what other possible benefit could he get from this other than just causing controversy and getting people talking about him? He's really good at that, and I while I disagree completely with you shouldn't take sick days, I can see where he's coming from, and I admire the fact that he's this good at causing controversy. Also, whenever he's talking about his own personal experiences, the clip that Ana Kasparian's playing right now, where Matt Walsh is talking about his experiences with the Daily Wire and how he only took off a couple sick days because he lost his voice, it's a little different. I know he's getting paid a salary from the Daily Wire, and I'm sure there's some percentages involved too, but it's a little different because I wouldn't say he's technically like a full-on entrepreneur. He works for somebody else, but if he doesn't work, he makes less money, I'm sure. I'm sure he gets a percentage of the Matt Walsh show. I'm sure they have some, because they want to incentivize him to show up every day to work, right? They want to incentivize him to do a good job rather than just salarying him and him having no incentive to do well on his show. So if he doesn't show up for work, he gets paid less and his show doesn't grow. So it's different. If I don't show up for my tech support job 1 day or 2 days out of the week, the company still makes the same amount of money, and so do I. So, like, it doesn't really matter, If Matt Walsh doesn't show up, guess what? The Matt Walsh show doesn't get recorded. So it's a little bit different.
Calling your boss and saying, sorry, I can't come in today, my tummy hurts, is humiliating. You need to be at work, okay? Adults don't have time to be sick.
Hey, don't scroll away.
I'm scrolling away, Cenk. Sorry, man. Let me know in the comments what you think about Ana Kasparian getting a little triggered about what Matt Walsh had to say in that clip where Matt Walsh said that adults shouldn't take sick days. And what is your stance on this whole situation? Like I said, Matt Walsh is a master at getting people talking. I'm very curious to see how you guys think about this whole situation. I honestly, I know that you're not going to agree with the really woke idiot that took Cenk's place on this video, but I'm interested to see if you guys agree with Ana Kasparian more, or if you agree more with Matt Walsh here. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole the Young Turks and Ana Kasparian versus Matt Walsh situation.